Translating words into math is one of the most important skills that you're going to learn. This is where all this stuff that you've been learning in math throughout the years, where it meets real life. It's where you take the numbers and you translate them into the real situation, or vice versa. You take the real situation and you write an expression from that situation. Let's start with a glossary. These are some words that should clue you in that you need to do a certain operation. With adding, words like add, plus, sum, more than, increase by, total. For subtracting, words like subtract, minus, difference, less than, decrease by, take away, less. You may think, wait, less than less, isn't that the same thing? And I put those up there differently because they are different. The phrase less than should tell you that you need to really examine the order of it, that you're going to switch the order of how the numbers are presented. An example, if I say that your age is 16 years less than my age, you need to switch those numbers for it to make sense. If you're 13, I'm 29. If we did your age minus my age, 13 minus 29, you're going to get negative 16. And nobody is negative 16 years. You're not going to have years in negatives. So you have to switch that order. You would write an expression representing your age minus my age as putting my age first. 29 minus 13, and you would get positive 16 then. For multiplying, times multiplied by, product, and of. Of is especially important as we get into things like percents and multiplying fractions. Of would fit in if I ask you, what's 40% of 200? Well, you multiply 40%, you turn that to the decimal point, 4 times 200. Or if I wanted to know what's 2/3 of 12, you do 2/3 times 12. Dividing, it's a simple list, divided into, divided by, and quotient. I want to point out 4 important words: sum, difference, product, and quotient. If you see these words in there, then more than likely you need to use parentheses in your expression. If they're saying 4 more than the quotient of a number in 42, that's 4 more than the quotient, meaning that you need to divide the number in 42 first and then find the then find the quotient of it. What did I say? The sum of it. When you see words like quotient, product, sum, and difference, you need to do that operation first. So you use parentheses to jump line in order of operations. Sometimes it's not specific words that clue you into the operation. It might be an action. If you're putting parts together, you're going to be adding. If you're finding how much more or how much less, you're going to be subtracting. If you're putting equal parts together, if I said I have 5 baskets with 4 apples, how many apples altogether? You do 5 times 4. Those were equal parts, so you multiply them. Dividing is when you separate into equal parts. I have a bag of 20 apples and I want to put those into 5 baskets. 20 divided by 5 would be 4. The how-to. First, you're going to translate. Let's take this phrase. The sum of 4 times a number and 2. So we go above there. Sum tells you adding. 4 would be 4, obviously. Times, multiply. A number, I don't know what that number is, so I'm going to use a variable. And typically, if you have the phrase a number, you use n to represent that. And 2. Now we're going to piece it together. If I had just written it as it was given, plus 4 times n, 2, that doesn't make any sense. I need to piece it together. The sum, that means I'm adding things. What am I adding? I'm adding 4 times a number and 2. And like I said before, sum should clue into you that you need to have parentheses somewhere. So 4 times a number. I'm going to be putting 4 and n together. And 2. So that's what's being added. You could have put parentheses right here. 4 times n plus 2. Like I said, when you see words like sum, that means you need to use some parentheses in there. However, when I look back at it to see if it makes sense, these parentheses are not necessary, so I can take those off. And check to see if the order matters. We have multiplying and we have adding here. And as you find with the commutative property, order does not matter in that case. But like I was saying earlier with words like less than, you really need to check to see what it is that you're subtracting from. If you're dealing with division, typically the first number or term that's given is what goes on top of the fraction or before the division symbol, depending on how you choose to write it. Let's practice a little bit. Pause it, try this, and then we'll compare. Practice A. 12 divided by a number. I translated it above there. And there's two ways you could write this. You could write this as 12 divided by n or have it look like a fraction. This is more of a bridge into algebra world. We quit using dot line dot for division and we make it look like a fraction. 12 over n means the same thing as 12 divided by n. Either way would be acceptable. 3 less than a number. That phrase less than tells us to swap the order. 3 is being taken away from the number, so it's n minus 3. And with practice C, 7 times the sum of a number and 5. 7 times the sum I'm adding, and remember we said with sum, there are going to be probably some parentheses. You're having to add first and then do the other operation, a number and negative 5. So I'm showing in parentheses where I am adding n plus negative 5. It goes in parentheses because normally you would not add first, you would multiply first. So those parentheses guide you to skip line in order of operations, and 7 is being multiplied back. You'll notice that I do not have a multiplication sign between 7 and the parentheses because you can shrink that down by just putting the 7 right next to the parentheses.